Hey guys, how are you all beautiful people? Hope all of you are doing fine. And yes, this is a new series, Godlike Hokage in Naruto. The Gura Gura no Mi is known as the strongest fruit in the world of One Piece. In Naruto world, the blood limit would grant the strongest power for those ninjas. But what if the Gura Gura no Mi is found in the world of Naruto and after it is eaten it will be like a blood limit power? Well, the MC just took that fruit. This story begins before the Second Ninja War by 2 years. So let's start without any delay. Minato saw Naito the moment he entered the main field. He was a little bit surprised. It was Naito, the one who was faster than him. Well, Naito managed to defeat Uchiha Izumi after all. While he was thinking about whether he greet him or not, the third and the fourth winner also entered the field. At the same time, a big audience came to the main field, some parents and some of the students who lost in the first rounds, each one seated to watch the upcoming fights. The upcoming fight, of course, is gonna be the most exciting one. The crowd is going bigger more and more. Finally, the winner of the 4 subfields has been determined. You can't be in the top rank unless you win 4 straight wins. If you lost one, even if there are others victories, you can't pass to the last round. That way, we have only 10 students in the last round. Some of them fought bitter battles but most of them had easy fights like Minato and Naito. It's already here. Looking at the top 10 students, Sarutobi was very happy. Those kids are the future of Konoha. The arrangements have been completed. A ninja came to Sarutobi to give him a report about the exam. Sarutobi gives them a sign, to let them begin. However, at the same moment, something interrupted the exam. Something was happening in the field. Walking with his stick, toward the place where the Hokage is seating. At the same time, a ninja brought a chair over there. It's Danza. Oh, I didn't expect you to catch in time. Sarutobi with slightly shining eyes. Those are the future of Konoha, of course, I will be in time. Danza sat down beside Sarutobi. Old fox. Sarutobi knew immediately the true purpose behind his presence here. There is no doubt that it's about selecting some worth-gifted kids to join the roots. But as long as things are not serious, Sarutobi will only keep an eye on Danzu. Danza took a glance at the 10 top students, then he reached the cup on the table, and started to run his mouth. They are still young and naive, but some of them will be a great use. Every young naive eagle grow wing and fly someday. Sarutobi smiled, and then directly gave the sign to the examiner. The examiner nodded, then suddenly appeared in the middle of the field. Come here and prove that you are the best one. The Hokage personally is here to see you. Show everything you got to get the attention of the Hokage. At that moment, the main event officially began. Minato, Naito, and the other draw randomly their next opponent. The first fight, Naito against Hyuga Satsune. While looking at the list, the examiner announced the first fight. It triggered all the attention. Even Danza was a little bit interested. Naito. Isn't that the kid who challenged Uchiha Samue to a duel? That kid, he got guts, or maybe he's just stupid. Some ninjas were slightly interested in the next fight. They were looking at Naito, to see his reaction. In fact, these ninjas was here to choose in advance the students to their teams. Winners who got qualified are basically the top students. They cannot be classified at the same level as the other students. Of that reason, when they graduate they will get separated in order to balance the teams. The first game is him. I'd like to see his abilities. He even beat Minato in the term of speed. Jiraiya heard that and he was very angry. He wanted to beat the hell out of them. Looking at him, Tsunade felt very embarrassed while she was pulling him out, but she couldn't. He was dragging her with him. Orochimaru was very lazy to interfere. He calmly leaned against the wall with his eyes focusing on the field. Naito and Setsune stepped in the middle of the field. Minato and the other were watching on the sidelines. Setsune was staring at Naito. Of course, he heard about Naito, and as a child of a big family, these matters are more sensitive to him. Finally, he said with pity, "Unfortunately, you weren't born as one of the main family in Konoha. Those damn Uchiha can't even look to us in the eyes. Are you showing your superiority through the name of your family?" Naito said that, looking to Setsune. Suddenly he shook his head, then said, "No, I just think that you can be considered very good, but I must win this fight, so I just wanted to make you happy before I kill you." This sentence made Naito immediately clench his fist. "I just wanted to make you happy before I kill you, how can he say that? Do you think you won? Of course. You only use Taijutsu, and Taijutsu is our thing. Simply no one can win against us when it comes to Taijutsu." Setsune looked very confident. With the Bakugan combined with the gentle fist fighting style, in terms of the physical power, the Hyuga are one of the strongest families in Konoha. It's true that even the Uchiha avoid them. The first fight, start. When both were ready, the examiner announced the beginning of the fight. Setsune took the famous stance of the Hyuga clan. "This is our fighting style, gentle fist. In terms of style, I think it's a little too difficult for you to defeat me." The crowd felt the same way, then they start to whisper. Especially those who knew that the gentle fist user can close the opponent chakra pathway system, and once it closed you lose. Everyone was thinking about the moves he will pull to fight against one of the Hyuga. But they didn't expect that his fighting style is much simpler. There is no gentle about it, no extra moves, nor any tedious process. It's one step forward, and punch. Closing my chakra path and all that shit about gentle fist, I just need to blast one punch. The moment Naito clenched his fist, he threw a punch toward Setsune while a white halo surrounded his fist. Catcher! Suddenly, the air cracked like a mirror. The cracks spread out toward Setsune. A terrifying shock surrounded Setsune from all directions. Just looking at it made Setsune face pale. His eyes showed disbelief. How could he be this strong? The enormous power almost suppressed him in his place. He raised his arm and tried to take his stance again, even if he couldn't even move from fear. But he ignored his fear, and quickly gathered his chakra in his hands and feet. He wanted to stop the shock of Naito. The chakra he got wasn't even close to stopping the shock of Naito. However, in the next moment, he knew that fact. That shock, even if he used all the chakra in his body, it won't stop. Even if he's a Hyuga, even if he controls chakra a lot better, he will barely resist it. I am afraid if he resists, Naito will crush his bones with his shock. A gentle fist user is just so far out of a tremor human league. Going against him is just insane. The shock was so close to him. Can any ninjutsu help him out now? 8 trigrams 64 palms, he will need to be close to cast this skill. Even if he uses the 8 trigrams palms revolving heaven, maybe he will withstand the power of the shock, but this is not necessarily. Perhaps he will just get a direct blow. Boom! The next moment, Setsune couldn't hold any longer, and finally went flying into the air by the power of the shock. He spurted blood and fell far away. The audience went silent. In the silence of everyone, their faces had an incredible look. they felt as if they were dreaming. How can this be? From the beginning to the end, Naito just threw one punch, but he made one of the strongest Taijutsu users fly into the air. What a monster, what a bloody battle. If it was an ordinary student who got his ass kicked, it wouldn't be a problem, but it's one of the strongest Taijutsu users in Konoha. It's a slap in the face. This is just shocking and incredible. The moment he went flying into the air, Naito was just calmly standing in the field. As if this result wasn't surprising. The next moment, the audience was on fire. Everyone got noisy. Earthquake. Not just the students, even some Chunins and Jonins were shocked by what they saw. Naito's punch will be the only thing people gonna remember about this exam. Even the examiner with a shock announced the victory of Naito. So strong. Incredible. The Hyuga kid couldn't even stop it. On the other hand, some of the Jonin and the elites were surprised and looking at each other. Even Sarutobi and Danza spaced out for a moment. The Earthquake Keki Genkai, it's really an interesting bloodline. It seems even the Gentle Fist couldn't stop it. Sarutobi seriously nodded, then said, it seems not only Gentle Fist, I think there's no martial art can stop it, in addition to the fact that it doesn't require hand signs to use it, but it's also just, very good. At that time, Sarutobi really start to pay attention to Naito. His talent is just unique, it made him more interested. On the other side, Jiraiya was still shocked. But his expression was a little bit weird. Naito just defeated one of the famous, Hyuga Setsune, so he didn't know what to say at first. Finally, he whispered, the result wouldn't change if he went against Minato, he can win easily too. Orochimaru kept his calm face while leaning on the wall, but his eyes were a little bit wider, his mouth was speaking without words. Even Tsunade, the Women of Steel, were surprised. That stunning punch just made her heart jump from its place. Because this looks like her style. Her best move is a simple fist with a blasting force that attacks all the enemy. You Naito, is it? She couldn't help but softly murmur, Senju Tsunade showing a hint of appreciation, saying, boy, you just made me a fan of you. Field. The crowd couldn't calm down for a long time, no one could believe what he saw, looking at Naito in the middle of the field. There he was calmly standing there, you Naito. By the sideline of the field, the other winner including Minato, also was shocked. They were wondering, if the person he was fighting was some of them, how the outcome will be. There is no doubt that the response will not be good, they will definitely end the same way as Setsune. This is a very dangerous guy. Everyone looked to his eye with a trace of fear. Even the heart of Minato was racing from the shock, he couldn't help but to stand in front of him and say, Naito, you're really strong, you gave me chills. With this sentence, Minato revealed that he's taking Naito seriously as an opponent. While listening to Minato, Naito suddenly smiled. Just chills. What will be his expression, if he knew that Naito didn't even use half of his power in that punch? He didn't even open the first gate, and he managed to defeat Izumi. After opening the first door, even if Setsune managed to gather all of his chakras, he couldn't stop Naito's punch. In that very moment, if he released all of his power, he could have killed Setsune. Of course, that's not necessary at all, Naito only needed the power to only make him fly into the air. Being afraid of the opponent's life, maybe that's the only weakness Naito has now. At the end of the first fight between Naito and Setsune, the examiner announced the start of the second fight. It was the fight of Minato. Although he didn't fight the same way as Naito, he used a very effective solution too. He used a C-class water ninjutsu. It was an easy win too. Minato has great control over his chakra and a variety of ninjutsu. It made Naito admire him. Casting a C-class ninjutsu was completely nothing to Minato due to his great chakra amount. Maybe it's not the same level as a Jonin, but it's not that far. Although it's true his talent is remarkable, but not as much as the ninja copycat Kakashi, who was graduated at the age of 6 years old. The next few fights were easy wins too. One of them was a kid from the Aburam clan who ended the fight easily by using the insects. After that, it was a genius boy from the Senju clan who beat his opponent easily. Soon, the 5 winners were determined. The battles of the main round and the battles at the subfields are different. The divisional battle doesn't only test the calibration of the student on combat only, but also it tests his endurance and stamina, and it tests one of the most important things for the ninja, it's his luck. To maintain his stamina and power for 4 consecutive wins is just not a simple task. The main round is simply a showdown of talent and power. So after the contestant has a fight, he can have a long rest, so he can return to his best condition. In the case of an injured contestant, there is one of the best medical groups ready for any kind of injuries. Even a broken bone wouldn't be a problem. After ending the first round, Satsune and the rest of the defeated students withdraw after they rested to the subfield to end their fights. The main field is only for winners. It took about 2 hours for everyone to have a lunch break. After that the second round has started again. Coincidentally, because there are only 5 contestants, there will be an automatically qualified contestant, and it was Naito. The 4 students, respectively, were Namikaze Minato, a kid from the Aburam clan, Hirakan and Senju Hana. The Senju clan isn't miserable like it was later, having only Tsunade as one of the Sannin. At the same age as Naito there's a lot of good students with the name Senju. In addition to Senju Hana there is also a particular familiar person, it's Senju Nawaki. It's Tsunade brother. He's the classmate of Naito, but he didn't get to know him because he was ignored before he got the power of the Gura Gura no Mi. Namikaze Minato vs Senju Hana. It wasn't an easy fight, but Minato stuck to using ninjutsu and he got the upper hand. Finally, he ended the fight with a Shuriken Kijibunshin no Jutsu technique. It seems as if he was in control of the whole battle. Because from the start to the end, Minato seems to have already seen through every move Hana has done before it even pulled out. Minato knows how to fight this one and how to win. This fight made Sarutobi feel proud. The more he saw Minato, the more he becomes pleasing to the eye of Jiraiya. He almost can't wait for him to graduate. He wants him to become his disciple already. This time, Danza was interested in Minato too. Suddenly, while he was drinking his tea, he calmly said, "This child is very mature, very calm, he's suitable for the Anbu missions. I am thinking of recruiting him to the route training." Impossible. Jiraiya hearing this sentence, he almost jumped out of his place. Sarutobi exclaimed, "Jiraiya, back off." Then he looked again to Danza. Sarutobi calmly said, "Minato shouldn't train as an assassin, he should be trained to be a Hokage." After Sarutobi's sentence, the expression of everyone has changed. The Hokage, there's no doubt that this is the highest position in the village, and such position a lot of people wants to claim it, and Danzu is one of them. This sentence made Danza unable to calm down. He put his cup on the table, then he said, "Hump. Sarutobi, watch your words, are you saying that he's gonna take Orochimaru's place?" Minato has not grown up yet, the successor of the Hokage. There's no doubt that Orochimaru is more qualified. Orochimaru heard Danza's words, but it looked as if it was completely unrelated to him. no one understood what he was thinking. Orochimaru is very qualified to be a Hokage too, but I have not grown old and weak yet. This situation is not gonna be decided any soon. Sarutobi didn't say any salty words, but his tone revealed a hint of warning. He's the Hokage, but also he's still young. Danza, reveal your thoughts. If you have any complaints, just say it. That's what Sarutobi was trying to say. Danza understood the meaning behind Sarutobi's words. His expression suddenly changed, but in the end, he didn't say a thing. Minato won against Senju Hana, Aburame Kid won against Hirakan. Naito was felt strange looking at the Aburame Kid. It's as if he saw him before. If he remembers correctly, this guy looked like one from the original story. Is that Shino's father? Gen. The pride of the Aburame. Considering the time zone, and the look, it seems he's right. He's now one of the top 3, in addition to Minato and Naito. 2 hours of rest. At this moment, the Battle of the 4 subfield has all been completed. Because of the short time of every fight, it's only 10 minutes. Most students are too tired to leave. Some of them who still have some power, used it to came to the main field. Everyone who isn't a contestant is banned from crossing the sidelines of the field. Naito didn't get harm, but Kushina at the end of the second round ran toward him. As a member of the Uzumaki, her physical power is very good, even if she doesn't have yet the power of the men, but she's not afraid of the continuous fight. She will recover later. Moreover, even if she's tired, Kushina didn't come here to fight, but she came here to see Naito's battles. She can't rest now. You're one of the top 3. Ow, I'm so happy. Kushina's small face suddenly revealed a very happy expression. She didn't even care about the people who are watching, and she threw herself directly on Naito and gave him a hug. A touch of feminine and passion filled the heart of Naito with rainbows. Suddenly she hugged Naito. After doing this, Kushina felt a little bit embarrassed, even if she's usually a little bit careless. A large crowd. Noticing those strange eyes looking behind her, Kushina, who was embarrassed, become angry. She clenched her fist and stared at them. Mind your damn business. Everyone was speechless. Most of them were afraid of Kushina. Quickly they turned their heads like they didn't see anything in the first place. From far away, even Danza was a little bit surprised. Kushina being the next Jinchuriki, it was classified information. Even Jiraiya didn't know that. Of course, anyone who is too close to her will know eventually. Looking at this scene, he couldn't help but ask, that Naito boy, is he too close to Kushina? Sarutobi slightly looked at him, then he shook his head. Don't joke about a thing like this. But, well, as long as she doesn't leave the village, we can control it. Well, it's your call. Danza stopped speaking. His face was more and more gloomy. While Sarutobi looked very calm, his heart was overwhelming with a strange feeling. He thought that Naito is a good kid. With such caliber, he believed that with this kind of relationship with Kushina, he will be the man who protects her. Naito is an outsider, but he has grown up in Konoha. Sarutobi knew and believed that this village has its own charm. Identity actually isn't a problem. But the only problem to consider is that stupid duel between Naito and Samue. It gonna be a little bit difficult to deal with. The rule forbids him as a Hokage from interfering in a life and death duel. But rules are just words written on a waste piece of paper. But negotiating with the Uchiha can abruptly make it a lot worse. Sarutobi spaced out for a moment, but he didn't leave his eyes from the field. After drawing again, it was Minato who automatically went to the final. This time, it's Naito's turn to fight against General However, everyone got surprised when the Abraham kid forfeits from the match. He didn't even try, he directly announced his loss. This sudden event made countless people shocked. Even Naito was slightly surprised. He didn't think that one of the top 3 will forfeit from his match. You power. The power of the earthquake can make a great damage to my insects. My bugs told me that your power is very dangerous. This kind of power is just unique. Naito, looking at Gen very quietly, made the last one continue his explanation. I calculated every possibility, every move. Whatever the method I am gonna use, it will be my defeat. Your power is just too great and anti-insect jutsu. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think you can create shocks from your legs too. I'm not naive to say your only weapon is your fists. That's why my insects will never come near you. Gen's explanation made everyone come to their senses. Most of the students couldn't help but feel the unease. Even one of the top 3 couldn't even stand against him. The power he gained is just too great. However, others saw more than that. The surprising thing wasn't Naito, it was Gen. Even some of the Junin admired him. An extraordinary mind. The battle was decided in his mind before it even began. Indeed, the power of the shocks gives Naito the upper hand. It creates vibrations that make it impossible for the bugs to even come near him. If Gen fought Minato instead, maybe we would have seen an incredible fight. Those were some of Junin's respective reviews. Of course, some of them respected his knowledge, his strategic mind. Others felt that he lacked motivation. Even if you know you're gonna lose, you try and play your cards. In short, it was mixed reviews. At this point, the field only has Naito and Minato. And the field can only contain one of them. Kushina didn't expect Naito to come this far. She hoped for him to only come in the top 3, but she didn't expect him to reach the finals. She couldn't help but shout for Naito. Although she feels that Naito's chances of winning are very poor against Minato, she still hopes for him to get first, and be the genius of Konoha. Since I didn't fight this one, there is no need for the rest, let's just start right away. Even Sarutobi couldn't turn his eyes from the field. He hoped to see a fantastic battle. He wanted to see the true color of Minato. He fought several times now, but the most incredible thing about his fight until now was that he didn't get hurt. From the beginning to the end, Minato dealt with every battle like it was nothing. Haha, he finally made it to the finals. Minato is certainly number 1. Jiraiya made it very clear that Minato was number 1 before the battle even began. This is not necessarily the case because Tsunade said that, but the second sentence was immediately interrupted by her own doubt. Jiraiya, come on, give me a break. In front of everyone, Tsunade felt a little bit embarrassed. Seeing how Tsunade was a little bit angry, Jiraiya laughed, then he whispered, that little devil Naito is strong with his bloodline jutsu, but it's nothing that Minato can't deal with, I guarantee. She looked at him and whispered back, is it? Believe me, that little devil can do nothing. But the next moment he felt chills coming from their backs. Tsunade was laughing while she saw how Orochimaru come near Jiraiya's ear and said, so you think you Naito can't do anything to Minato? Instantly cold sweat comes out from Jiraiya's forehead. He couldn't help but smile while saying, Keik, in short words, I like you Naito, and you like Minato, let's just wait and see the final outcome. Humph. Tsunade snorted, and Jiraiya was too lazy to answer his provocation. The battle of genius, there will be always a result, let's just wait and see. Orochimaru smiled, his eyes showed that he was interesting. One side is the most talented kid in all time, Minato, and the other side is the awaker of the special bloodline of the earthquake. Both of them are interesting, both of them are strong, that's what he thought. The last fight. Namikaze Minato vs Naito. The examiner announced the last fight. The excitement of the audience has finally reached the climax level. Almost all the attention and expectations from the start were on Minato and Naito. Minato smiled at Naito and said, "I didn't expect you to be the last opponent, but still am very pleased to be able to fight against you." Watching the movements, the expressions of Minato made Kushina feel the pressure of an incoming storm. Even Naito felt the same way. What a presence! Although it's not a surprise, the appearance and the talent of this man, even his mood and temper, give him a great presence. "I am honored to fight you too." Naito nodded his head and smiled back to Minato. Minato said with a smile, "It's not that honorable." Of course, Minato didn't know the reason for Naito's feelings. It was referring to his future of being the strongest Hokage Konoha's Yellow Flash. Fighting a future Hokage is, of course, an exciting thing. And even as a kid he can't be underestimated, he's a strong opponent. That's the reason Naito being so serious about this. Last fight, start. The moment the examiner announced the start, he also announced the fight that gonna decide the most talented kid in the school, the genius of the ninja school. From the very beginning Naito decided to go all out. With full speed, Naito dust toward Minato and throw a punch. Playing around with a man like Minato can kill you. It doesn't mean he's afraid. The lion go all out even when he's hunting a rabbit. Naito showing his full speed was a shocking moment. Until now the only thing he showed in this event was his overbearing power. This is the first time he showed his speed. In the eyes of the other students, Naito's speed was like the speed of light. His body appeared like a shadow when he moved. They couldn't follow his speed with their eyes. Fast. Not only powerful, but fast too. It wasn't only the students, even the other shinobis who were surprised. His speed is almost comparable to a Chunin. Naito wasn't carrying any weights. His speed at this time was almost like the speed Lee showed in the Chunin exam, but of course, this is due to open the first gate of the reverse Hakimon Tonku. The strength and speed he gained from the gate of the heart can't be underestimated. So fast. Minato's eyes exposed a hint of shock, but he didn't get distracted. While Naito was dashing at him, he started doing hand signs. By the time Naito showed himself to strike him with a punch, Minato has already completed his hand signs. Boom! As soon as the sound of the punch exploded, Minato's body shattered, but it turned into a piece of wood. Substitution jutsu. It didn't surprise Naito. Suddenly he clenched his fist and knocked out the air behind him. Catcher. The air cracked like a broken mirror, the cracks spread out in all directions. Behind him it was Minato who threw shurikens from his back. Those cracks froze all the shurikens in the air. All the shurikens fell on the ground, simply they couldn't resist the power of the shock. It's really a tricky one. Looking at this scene, Naito dust at Minato with full speed, but Minato in the meantime managed to do hand signs and cast a substitution jutsu, then appeared behind him. Minato's natural speed and nerve reactions are beyond any other man, even the Yondaime Reikage isn't compared to him. That way, even against Naito's great speed, he can react faster. But he felt that it was a pain in the ass. If it was only power, he had too many combat plans to overwhelm him, but with this great speed, it's a little bit difficult. The tougher the opponent, the more troublesome he is. That punch must be avoided, or it's gonna be my end. He murmured that to himself, then he picked up a shuriken. Naito turned around, with a calm look. Regardless of the tricks Minato gonna pull out up, as long as he gets close to him once, as long as he hit him with one punch, it gonna be his win. Whoosh! Suddenly, Minato threw the shuriken directly toward Naito. At the same time he started doing hand signs with both hands. While the shuriken was flying in midair, suddenly another one showed up. The one shuriken turned into two. After that, the 2 changed to 4, and the 4 changed to 8. In the blink of an eye, the sky was full of shuriken. Like a storm it was moving toward Naito. A shocking moment. Shuriken Shadow Clone Jutsu. Self-education. His talent is terrifying. Whether the students or the other shinobis, the shock appeared in their eyes. However, in the face of this sky of shurikens, Naito trusted his power. He didn't retreat. He clenched his fist and threw a wave of shock. Anytime you use a ninjutsu or throw a shuriken, I will always stop it with one punch. Bang! The power of the shock made a crazy impact in the air and stopped every single shuriken in midair, then one by one they fell on the ground and disappeared. A very shocking scene. It's simply hard to imagine that the 2 of them are just ninja school students who can use these tricks. However, this is not over yet. While the shurikens were falling from the sky like the rain, several of them started to transform. Pushy. It turned out to be paper bombs attached to kunais. This trick too. Naito kept the calm expression. He looked to the sky and grabbed all the air around him as if it were tangible. Any move you're gonna pull out, even if you use thousands of tricks, with one punch I'm gonna destroy everything. The power of the shock was outbreaking. It shrouds all the surrounding area. The cracks spread out in the air. It looked as if he broken the space itself. Bang! The explosion was so big, but abruptly the wave shock blocked it out. It couldn't go any further. However, it caused a lot of smoke and dust which temporarily blocked the vision. The smoke spread out in all the area, and the kunais disappeared in the air. Meanwhile a strong wind came and blew everything away. Wind release. Breakthrough. This wind release, impressively given Minato a great advantage over Naito. While he was dealing with the explosive kunais, he released it to shorten the distance between them. The moment Naito realized what's happening, Minato was already in front of him. Too late to dodge him. However, he just used a C-class ninjutsu. A series of amazing attacks. Although it seems a little bit simple, at the age of Minato, using the shuriken shadow clone, paper bombs, and finally wind release jutsu, is already extremely amazing and rare. Even Sarutobi couldn't help but praise him. Honestly, Minato should win. The timing of these moves was so great. It's impossible to face a C-class ninjutsu. Even if he does, he won't stop it without any injuries. There is almost no chance of fighting back. Those were some arrogant arguments from the crowd. Even though Minato cast that jutsu and gained the timing, he didn't just relax. Looking at that jutsu, Naito's expression changed. What Minato just did was incredible. He just drove him to a corner. No one can escape this situation. That was clever. No one can hide or escape from this. Unfortunately, I am not anyone. The jutsu approached Naito, but in the face of this powerful jutsu he didn't show any trace of fear or panic. He was extremely calm. Since there's no way to escape, why should I try? C-class ninjutsu, ha! If one fist won't stop it, then two is the solution. At the next moment, with right fist as it is, he suddenly clenched the left one. White light emerges. Suddenly the two dazzling bleak white light fists created a circle. Suddenly, he punched the air with his left, blasting all the strength of the wave shock he gathered. OM. The punch shook the entire field. Catcher. The power of shock spread out in all directions. The power of the shock collided with the wind release breakthrough jutsu. Bang! A big exploding, even a C-class wind release got destroyed by Naito's punch. Before he couldn't stop the fireball Izumi cast head-on. But now, he completely destroyed it from a close distance. The shock was on everyone's face. Oh my god, a C-class ninjutsu. He actually smashed it. Naito bloodline is just overpowered. He can even stop a C-class ninjutsu with his bare hands. We're just not in the same league. Everyone subconsciously showed their exclamations, with an incredible expression. Even the other shinobis didn't expect the earthquake power to be strong to this extent. This time the outcome surprised Minato too. He couldn't help but get shocked by what he saw. So strong. This time, he felt it deep in his heart. He felt extremely dignified. Winning Naito wasn't so simple as he thought. Considering this new outcome, losing is not impossible anymore. On the other hand, smashing the wind release with his fist made Naito twist his wrist, so he started stretching it. Hitting it with his punch was his only option. Honestly, there's no way he was gonna escape that without a little sacrifice. Now with the power of the 8 gates, I can destroy any kind of C-class jutsu. Naito murmured that to himself. This time he clearly saw the true power of his fruit. Slightly revealing a trace of satisfaction, Naito's eyes once again fall on Minato's figure. Whoosh! The next moment, Naito's figure flashes. Once again he dashed toward Minato with full speed. Seeing Naito dashing at him, Minato didn't hesitate to fall out. Minato knew after he saw Naito blast away a C-class ninjutsu with a punch as it was nothing that close combat is not an option. What a joke. If a punch can wipe out a C-class jutsu, then it's just mean that his punch power is equal to a C-class ninja move, and it doesn't even need hand signs. Close combat with him is just a death wish. However, even if Minato quickly retreated, his speed compared to Naito was still poor. Although Minato's nerve reaction is incredibly faster, he can't truly take advantage of that without his flying thunder god kunai. Still, does his body speed can be comparable to Naito's. A few flashes, Naito caught up. Then he threw out a punch. In the nick of time, Minato with surprise speed made hand signs to cast a substitution jutsu, and escaped Naito punch. Catcher. The block of wood shattered into small pieces. Minato was far away from him, but his breathing was heavy, and his forehead was sweating. Annoying substitutes, but it's almost over. Knowing the outcome of this action, Naito calmed himself. Physically, Naito, who managed to open the gate of the heart, is better than Minato, so a game of chasing is just what he wants. Yeah, it's almost over. Once again catching his breath, Minato took a deep one, then with eyes full of confidence he looked at Naito. It seems as if he had already seen his victory. The next moment, Minato starts doing hand signs. Another Seijutsu. Fire release. Phoenix Sage fire technique. The casted jutsu made everyone a little bit lost. Even Naito was stunned for a moment. They didn't understand the meaning of this move. He can easily blast any C-class ninjutsu. The release of a C-class ninjutsu is simply a waste of chakra. At that strange moment, Naito lost his focus. In that rear time, there were 2 of Minato. Clone technique. Looking at this scene, everyone got more surprised. Although no one noticed when Minato did the shadow clone, but even with the shadow clone, what does this action gonna affect? What's the purpose? You can only use it to distract the enemy, you can't attack with that. Maybe that's what he wants. Ah. This is not a clone technique. The next moment made everyone shocked. That clone of Minato started doing hand signs. It's gonna cast a ninjutsu. Wind release. Breakthrough. Rumble. Casting, one after another, fire then wind. Suddenly there he was, in the middle of two cast ninjutsu. It's just almost impossible to turn the scales. At that moment everyone showed a shocked expression. Using 2 C-class ninjutsu, in fact, isn't such a big deal. What really shocked them is the clone that released the jutsu. The ordinary clone technique doesn't have thoughts or entities, it doesn't have the ability to attack. But the one Minato used, cast a ninjutsu. Obviously, this isn't a poor trick, this is advanced B-class ninjutsu. Shadow clone. It can't be. Isn't this a shadow clone technique? How did he learn this technique? Self-learning. Why didn't we notice it from the very start? All the teachers couldn't help but show incredible expressions. In the ninja school, they don't teach shadow clones to the kids because it's an advanced technique. But Minato, he even learned this technique by himself. What a gift he has. In the face of this sudden attack, Naito felt the desperation growing in his heart. On the other side of the field, Kushina was looking at him, clenching her tiny fist. She was unaware that she was pushing her nails into her flesh. Naito. Her beautiful eyes were showing a hint of unease. Minato is really strong, Naito. After all of this, he's gonna lose, isn't he? At this time, even Sarutobi revealed an expression of a marvelous appreciation of Minato's talent. Even the other Shinobis also felt the same way about Minato, they even thought that it was almost over. Field. Naito was standing quietly there. The C-class fire release Phoenix Sage fire technique was in front of him, and from his back, the wind release breakthrough was closing in. The actual field in a matter of fact wasn't that large, anyone who caught in the middle of 2 ninjutsu won't have a way to escape. Even the examiner was on the alert to clean the mess. However, at that time, standing in the field, in the middle of 2 C-class jutsu, Naito suddenly slightly fall out a half step to the back. That action looked pointless, as if he was panicking out, but his look, his face, weren't showing any fear or panic. But Naito's next move made everyone get stunned for a moment. Naito, in the face of 2 jutsu, fire and wind release, one from his left and the other from his right, did a simple move. He spread his legs. At the same time, he gently staggered forward, then clenched his fists between his chest and belly. You don't say. Is the impossible. The moment everyone saw this action, they knew he was gonna pull something out and try stopping the jutsus, but they didn't want to believe it. But with the next moment, every voice just comes to an end. Everyone's eyes widened, the end was near, they couldn't pick up their eyes from the field. Boom! The wind release and the fire release closed in, and Naito was in the middle with the same posture. But in the next moment, Naito starts to move his arms, suddenly he hammered both sides fiercely with his fist. Catcher! The next moment, the white halo suddenly shook the air on both sides. Naito, who looked as if he was surrounded by mirrors, both sides around him start to crack inch by inch. The power of the shock crazily started spreading out toward both sides. The 2 jutsu was closing in, but in the face of these devastating shock waves that can pass through and damage almost any substance, they stopped right in front of Naito's fists, as if he just stopped the 2 of them with just his fist. Almost as if he was a superhero. The next moment, the wind and fire release collapsed. The crowd was quiet. However, everyone was shocked. They wanted to run, to scream, because this is just insane. Until the dust and the traces of the jutsu disappeared in the air, everyone restored the calm. Then they started getting noisy all over again. How can this be? He even used the two fists at the same time and attack in both directions. Such a bloodline, such an attack range, it's just flawless. At this moment, even the third Hokage Sarutobi almost crushed the cup in his hand. Naito's power of bloodline, the power of the earthquake. It's almost perfect. If this bloodline got trained the right way, how much can it go further? Sarutobi's heart was beating so fast from excitement. At that time, even Danza couldn't handle himself, his eyes revealed his desire. Sarutobi, this child is mine, he's an outsider, I can grow him to a level that can be trusted. Impossible. Sarutobi without any hesitation refused. Danza couldn't handle himself and exposed his anger, he couldn't hold back. You didn't want to give me Minato, and now you're taking Naito too, Sarutobi, what do you want exactly? You will not have those two children. Sarutobi said with a cold stare, and tone that can cut off the iron. You. Very good, you're the Hokage after all, and you will always have the last word. Then suddenly Danza stood up, and with a trace of anger he looked to Sarutobi. Then he looked to the field for the last time, and then he turned and left direction. Sarutobi looked at Danza leaving and thought. Do you think I'm not aware of what you're thinking? Danza turned the route from a special ambu force to a dark institution working privately, almost separated from Konoha's main system. Giving him Minato and Naito will only make him stronger and more powerful. And Sarutobi as the third Hokage of Konoha will never let this happen. At this time in the field, Minato hopelessly stood there. His shadow vanished because of the decrease of chakra. The shadow clone technique divides the chakra of the user on the clones he makes, but Minato spent a lot of chakra and having a clone will only make him weaker. Earlier when he saw Naito destroying two jutsus with his fist, his heart suddenly jumped from its place. He couldn't do anything but watching him destroying his plan. After all, what could he do more? But at the same time, he hoped that using the shock waves from both sides will weaken him and won't let him stop the two jutsu. However, the power of the shockwave didn't get any weaker and still shattered the two jutsu. That bloodline he has is just too perfect. Minato's face showed a trace of bitterness. Even against a Junin, he wouldn't feel this hopeless. He didn't think that Naito is stronger than him, or he's more talented than him. But at his current level, there's no solution to defeat him. Once you can deal with a B-class ninjutsu, means you can deal with a class of ninjutsu the Chunin and the Jonin use. That's why even a Chunin will have to think twice before he crosses his blade with Naito. People who focus on their bloodline can achieve things that shouldn't be reached. That's why the Uchiha and the Hyuga clans are strong. As long as they have these eyes, they will always be stronger than the other shinobis who are at the same level. The earthquake has the power to destroy any ninjutsu. It seems to be stronger than any dojutsu, it's more overbearing. When he reaches the next level, defeating Naito will be impossible. You win. Minato's tone was a little bit bitterish, but with no more moves, he declared his defeat. His physical strength and chakra are almost exhausted, and indeed even the outcome of the fight wasn't in his favor. With a deep look he approached Naito. His heart was slightly in unease, but he was a very good person from the very beginning to the end. Naito, I am glad to have this fight with you. I will continue on challenging you in the future. You're welcome. Naito gently nodded to Minato, with Minato admitting his defeat. The final comes to the end, and the test was finally over. The examiner took a deep breath and then raised Naito's hand. The winner. You, Naito. Shock. The audience once again got noisy. You, Naito, is actually the winner. Minato is history, the ninja school has a new genius. A lot of students didn't expect Naito to reach this level, you know, just a few months ago, he was that stupid kid who couldn't even control his chakra. After awakening his bloodline, everything turned around. Some people thought that in the future the bloodline of the earthquake will have the power to make all the world tremble. Ignoring all the noise around him, Naito went fast to the strands to see Kushina. Just like I promised, I did it. The first place. He pointed his finger at her and started laughing while shaking a little bit. Kushina was just staring at Naito. Just a minute ago, she thought that Naito will lose, she didn't expect the outcome will be reversed. But Naito won, he's the winner. From the very beginning of the exam to the end, neither his body nor his clothes got damaged. Even Minato couldn't even leave a scratch on Naito's body. Kushina tipped her small mouth, and suddenly tears came out of her beautiful eyes. It was tears of joy. She was happy for Naito. People may not have been concerned about Naito before this exam, but she has been watching him from the very beginning. She knows how hard it was for him. In school, in the middle of the night when no one was there, Naito was doing extremely hard training. In her opinion, Naito isn't lucky, he wasn't a genius from the very beginning, but he was a genius's hard work. And his hard work has finally got paid off. Why are you crying? Looking at her, Naito couldn't help but smile. He extended his hand and gently with his fingers wiped the tears from her eyes. Kushina reacted at the same time, and suddenly a lovely blush appeared on both her cheeks. And with a dummy face, she stared at Naito, then she hummed, well. Being the top isn't the only thing you should be proud of today, stealing my heart is also an achievement. Kushina shocked Naito with her sentence. It took him a moment to react, then suddenly a rose blush appeared on his face. Then the two of them showed a dumb expression. Even if she wanted, she couldn't deal with such a heavy scene, so she just ran again. And just at a glance, she disappeared. Naito twitched his mouth, but in the end, he couldn't help it and laugh. Minato, actually loose. On the high-profile stand, Jiraiya was so down, so angry at the outcome of the fight. While he was leaving he tripped and fell on the ground. Everyone made an exaggerated expression while laughing. The moment he stood up everyone twitched their mouths. On the other side, Tsunade had the same idea Jiraiya had about Minato. She turned to the field to see Naito. Her beautiful eyes were shining with lights from her appreciation. Naito's moves, style, everything in him made her want him more. If Jiraiya's gonna choose Minato, she definitely will not hesitate to choose Naito. Ha ha ha, you really made me see a wonderful battle, a rare contest between geniuses. Orochimaru leaned back from the wall with a smile. No one can see the real peak of those two. Oh, I forgot the boy called Naito, he still got some problem to solve first. After saying this, he just walked away with an evil smile on his face. This sentence Orochimaru left, suddenly made Tsunade's expression change a little bit. She gloomed a little bit, and then looked to the side of Sarutobi. After the talk he had with Danza, Sarutobi went into deep thought. No one could guess what he was thinking. In the exam of the school ninja, someone beat Minato and won first place. The name of the genius, Naito, spread out in all Konoha. Everyone got shocked by the news, they no longer think of his action as an arrogant one. He dared to challenge Uchiha Samue, and now he actually achieved this. Because he had beaten Minato and won first place, he became the most famous genius in all of Konoha. A lot of people changed their opinions about his duel with Samue after this event. Just yesterday he was that arrogant kid who offended an Uchiha and dug his own grave. But now, he turned into a brave, talented young man. A young boy, who has a great talent, can be a little arrogant. The opinions have changed a lot. But just to clear any misunderstanding, most people still think that he doesn't have any chance against Uchiha Samue. Maybe he's the top kid in the ninja school, maybe his strength can be comparable to other shinobis in other ranks. But Samue is an Uchiha, and he's on a whole different level. The Uchihas are stronger than the average shinobis. A duel between a Chunin and an ungraduated kid from the school ninja. The gap is like the distance between heaven and earth, it simply can't be measurable. Naito, after he awakened his bloodline, suddenly became the most talented kid in his generation, maybe in all generations. It's a great leap forward, but it's still not enough. Another great leap crossing the level of a Chunin is totally excluded. The Uchiha's headquarters. A dark atmosphere. In the center of the room, there was Uchiha Samue bending his knee and excessively sweating from his forehead. And there was a person standing in front of him. This person was the head of the Uchiha, but also the captain of the Konoha military police force. Uchiha Kijiyama. Idiot. Clan head. Uchiha Samue looked afraid while he was kneeling. His body was a little bit trembling. Kijiyama turned around, then stared at him coldly and said, "You make a lot of fuss, because of a little kid. You know, even the Hokage has been personally involved in the matter." While the head clan was talking, Samue didn't dare to say anything in return. A part of him felt regret and depression. He simply didn't think that a small kid like Naito, an outsider from a small village, can pull out such a move, involving the Hokage in the matter. Now the Uchiha clan are pushed to a corner. He knew he should have killed him when he had the chance. Now it's almost impossible to even harm him. He got famous after he becomes the most talented kid in the village. Now everyone knows that he has some problems with the Uchiha. If anything now happens to Naito, they won't come of it clean. However, the problem is bigger than this. Because in less than 3 months, Naito and Samue will have a duel of life and death. Although the Sundame has asked this in person, we can't withdraw from this, for the name of the Uchiha clan. Kijiyama looked at Samue, and with a tone revealing his server he said, "Do you understand? It's not about you and the kid anymore, it's about the name of the clan. You cannot lose. If a little kid like him shows off in front of us and we do nothing, the Uchiha clan, the clan that everyone fears, will lose its place and no one will ever fear us again." With those words, the pressure on Samue intensified. I understand." Samue responded. Kijiyama looked at him, then he shook his head and turned around. "You go now. 3 months from now, I don't want to hear any bad news from you." "Yes, sir." Samue with a serious tone responded, his eyes revealed killing intent. In his opinion, coming first in the exam won't change anything. After all, they're just kids playing ninja. Defeating him is just a dream. In the woods. From time to time wind blows, bringing the sound of crashing. Boom. 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 It was the sound of the waves. Naito was standing in front of a thick stake, punching it constantly. The more he punches, the stronger the stress got on the stake. And on the stake, there was a little bit of blood. Although Naito's fists were wrapped with bandages, constantly hitting it, hundreds of times, he still injured his fists. What? At the 1000th time, along with a loud shout from Naito, suddenly threw a heavy hit. Catcher. This fist, with an out-of-control shockwave, hit the thick stake so it shattered. Phew, these stakes have been broken more than I count. This stuff is just too useless. I think I need to change the stakes to the metal ones after all. Looking down on the destroyed stakes, Naito revealed a hopeless expression. The metal one is harder, but the price is a little bit expensive. However, after he has given a thought, a better option. He will get the stone one. The stone is always harder than the wood, but if I use it, I'm afraid the pain will be much stronger than the pain from the normal stakes. For the sake of opening the second gate as soon as possible, it's totally worth it. It won't be a big deal, I will only need to wrap more bandages. He murmured that, then showed a serious expression. This time, after he won first place and defeated Minato, Naito got all famous in just 2 days from the event. But there's no time for the wicked. As soon as the exam ended, he once again went back to the training. The fame won't matter if he's not strong enough. Especially when the second Shine Abyss World War is coming, being weak will only mean his certain death. After a brief rest, Naito was ready again to start his training, followed by 1,000 sidekicks, then back to the push-ups. And just before he started, a shadow with a mask appeared. Naito, the Hokage wants to see you, said the dark-masked guy calmly. Naito got a little bit surprised, then he nodded at him. The Sundame is calling him, he certainly can't refuse. Actually, he didn't get surprised because the Hokage wanted to see him, he only didn't expect it to be this late. The day of the exam after he won, he thought that he will see him right away. He even doubted that the Hokage forgot all about him, but it was impossible to even consider. Good. After that, Naito followed the Anbu to the village. Before they depart, the Anbu couldn't help but look at the destroyed stakes around Naito, and at the same time, he noticed the blood on his bandages. His eyes suddenly revealed a hint of color. He couldn't help but look at Naito. If he was only a talented kid, he wouldn't even care about him. But in addition to his great talent, he also pushes himself to this almost crazy level of training. Talent is not the thing you should fear, but having a great talent with a strong will to get better, to work harder and harder, will scare the hell out of any man. A hard worker in addition to his talent, this kid Naito, if he doesn't die on his path of growth, his future will be great. Konoha, Hokage residence. The Anbu accompanied Naito all the way through the village and the Hokage residence. And also all the way to the Hokage office. This is the place where they deal with all sorts of chores in Konoha. This place also has the highest status in all of Konoha. At the same time, Sarutobi was in his office sitting on his chair smoking his pipe, wondering. The Uchiha is being stubborn about this, but also, these kinds of situations are known to always be hard to solve. He murmured that to himself. The Sundame took a deep breath, then he exhaled the smoke, then he showed a cool expression. Even if the Uchiha clan can't afford to lose this one, it's the Hokage word against them, they can't just turn him off. Knock. 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 Just at this moment, a ninja knocked on the door. HolyOniiSama. Naito is here. Let him in. Just when he heard the name of Naito, his expression changed to a calm one, then he put the pipe aside. Walking to the Hokage office, Naito took a glance here and a glance there, but without turning around, he went straight to Hokage's desk gently. HolyOniiSama. No need to be so formal, get up. Sarutabi looked at him with a smile as he asked, "How was it leaving in Konoha for all these years?" "It's been okay, I guess." In fact, he wanted to add that it's fortunate that he's still alive. But he held back. However, Naito finally said, "Well, as the Hokage of Konoha, I think you already know how I lived these past years." "Understood." Sarutabi gently nodded, while his eyes showed a hint of appreciation. He also summoned Minato before. With only 2 simple sentences, he already knew how Naito and Minato think. Although they are only 8 or 9 years old, they are able to think like adults. In this case, he doesn't have to talk to Naito the same way he does with kids. "I understand that, after all, you're an outsider, and the conflicts between the villages are going bigger and bigger. Especially in recent years, we're all in war after all. Your village was in a conflict with one of the 5 great shinobi countries, Tsunagakyo, and it got destroyed by them." He stopped, then Sarutabi looked at Naito, but he found that his expression didn't change. Extremely calm, he nodded, then he continued. "Our people don't see you, the children from the other villages, as one of us, and this is wrong. You've been badly treated here in Konoha, I know this." Sarutabi saw the amiability on Naito's face. "You will not get the same treatment in the future." Listening to Sarutabi's words, Naito knew that these words were from the heart. In fact, the meaning of this sentence is that he needs to forget about the past because from now on, he's a member of Konoha. "Thank you, Sandaime-sama." Naito's face softly showed a trace of gratitude. Sarutabi laughed, then stood up from his chair, then he walked next to Naito. "Although there's a lot of conflicts, at least, there will not be any more war here in Konoha." "Yes." Naito nodded gently. That was true. Compared to the small villages who are tearing each other apart, Konoha is a peaceful place. They're leaving every day in fear, scared of everyone around them. Maybe the treatment isn't that great, but there is no fear of being affected by the war, or of waking up someday homeless. Let's forget about the past." Sarutabi patted Naito's shoulder, then kindly smiled. "Your performance was stunning in the exam, you showed me a very exciting battle. Your talent is very great, even your mentally is better than a lot of adults, in fact, you're already a good ninja." Here, Sarutabi paused for a moment, he slightly changed his tone, then he continued, "But talent is good, but you need to have a good time, grow up, and get stronger. You're still a young boy after all. I hope you will be able to settle down, keep practicing, don't rush things, give every step its own time, and I'm sure your future will surely bloom in a great color." Sarutabi's words were a little bit complicated. He couldn't just say that he's still weak, and he needs to practice the right way to get better. Because the real question is, who can show him the right way? In less than 3 months, he will fight Samue to a life and death battle. Slightly wondering, Naito guessed what Sarutabi meant, then he asked. "Does the Sandaime-sama means that I should give up on fighting Samue after 3 months?" Sarutabi got surprised for a moment, then he admired his way of thinking. He wasn't clear about anything, but Naito guessed all of that by himself. "Yes, that's what I mean, although you're outstanding, there's still a big gap between you and Samue. So this duel." Just as he was gonna complete his sentence, Sarutabi suddenly got interrupted by another voice. "Sarutabi, life and death duels cannot be retracted." The tone sounded very calm. Danza was at the door, with eyes flashing with an inexplicable light. Step by step he came in. "Danza." The moment Sarutabi saw Danza, his brows frowned up. Naito is just a kid, how can you apply this rule to him? Sarutobi, the only thing I believe in is rules. As long as there is a rule about something, it doesn't matter who it will be applied to. No one can beat up a life and death duel, even you the Hokage can't do nothing about it. Sarutobi kept the calm look, but his eyes were glowing with inexplicable light. Sarutobi knew Danza's intentions in doing this were to get Naito. He wasn't gonna let go of him. He saw in Naito the man who will be his right arm in the future. That's why he wasn't gonna let go of him. Rules are also mankind's creation, what if I change it? Sarutobi said that coldly. It didn't take a lot for Danza to understand Sarutobi's intention too, so he tried to push him more to give up Naito. Then I will not agree. Danza's expression changed to a very serious one. Then he said, if you want to change the rules, you will need to get the elders' agreement, and I think it's not gonna be only me. A lot of them won't support you in changing the rules so easily. You. After he said that, Sarutobi's expression turned to a very angry one. What he said was true. The life and death rules were created by the very first Hokage Hashirama. When Tobirama became a Hokage, he kept the rules. These rules didn't change for more than 2 generations, changing them now is difficult. Within a big village like Konoha, there will always be conflicts between the major clans. And this will always end with some irreconcilable contradictions. But these conflicts from both sides gonna end with a fight, and these fights can't be inside Konoha. Sooner or later, they will try to ambush each other outside of the village, and it will gonna turn out to be chaos. This rule was created to limit the number of losses. This way the only people getting in a fight are the two who had conflicts from the very beginning. That's the reason behind keeping these rules for more than 2 generations, because the tradition of the life and death duel has resolved a lot of conflicts so far. In this world, every elite ninja's hands are covered in blood. Sometimes life is just this way, and you can't do anything about it. As when Neji's father needed to die for the sake of his brother, they couldn't change the rules back then. Although the Hokage position is strong, he can't simply change rules like that. A rule that has been there for more than 2 generations, he will need the agreement of all the elders to change it. The mood has changed in the room. Despite the sharpness of the Sandame, he couldn't say anything. He kept staring at him, while Danza looked very calm. Finally, Sarutobi took a deep breath, then looked at Naito. Naito, you can go. Yes, sir. He waited until Naito left the room, then he looked at Danza with an angry look. Danza, you want to kill this kid just to make a point. Sarutobi, if you don't want this to happen, then just back off. I just don't want to see you do such mistakes as a Hokage. I'm just a shadow in this game, but there's an obligation to always makes the right choice. Sarutobi wanted to cut Danza off from this issue from the very start, but he can't do this anymore. Danza caught up and this isn't good. The Shinobi sector has become increasing chaotically. The Second World War is very near. Danza, you're allowed to do a lot of things, except this. You can't move the foundation of Konoha to your route. This is unacceptable. Naito is just an outsider. How can you even think that he can become the foundation of Konoha? Danza sneered loudly. He's not Sarutobi. He will not trust such a kid like Naito. Danza will not put complete trust in them, even in the people who are around him. You. Sarutobi got angrier when he heard the sarcastic tone when he mentioned that Naito is an outsider. Staring at him, Danza adds another sarcastic comment. But don't worry Sarutobi, maybe our little genius Naito will win this duel against Samue. This way it's gonna be a win-win situation. He will not only prove his talent and spare his life, but also we will finally get rid of the Uchiha arrogant attitude. Of course, Sarutobi knew that Danza is only being sarcastic. Winning against Samue, you got to be kidding. After all, even Samue is a talented chunin. Even with the talent Naito got, winning this duel after 2 months, is just impossible. To even think an ungraduated kid can win against a chunin is simply crazy. And Samue isn't any chunin, he's one of the best, he reached the level of the Jonins. As a member of the Uchiha or the Hyuga clan, if you're promoted to be Jonin, that's mean you're better than a lot of Jonins. Of course, the difference between the Hyuga and the Uchiha, that the Uchihas need to awaken the Sharingan fist before they have that kind of power. But Sarutobi knew that Samue has already awakened his Sharingan. In all aspects, the Shinobi organizational system has been created for a purpose. No one can beat a chunin unless he's a jonin. You need to reach a certain level before you can go against someone in higher class unless you're using a forbidden technique. This is the ninja path, step by step. It's hard to overcome this system and go beyond one level. Naito did this once already, and that's why crossing this path again is simply impossible. The Uchiha Danza. Naito was far away from the Hokage office. At this time he was walking in the streets of Konoha, and his eyes were flashing in strange colors. He really felt strange. The Nidaime Hokage Tobirama Senju has always hated the Uchiha clan, and he delivered this thought to Danza, who tried to destroy the Uchihas with every mean, and now with the Uchiha being in a strong position and acting arrogant, even Sarutobi can't stop him. And now Naito is caught up in the middle of these issues. In a matter of fact, to Konoha whether he wins or not it doesn't matter. The true parts of this fight are the 3 most powerful people in Konoha, the Uchiha clan, the Sundaime Hokage, and Danza, commander of the route. And he just happened to be at the center of this. The most important thing is power. He clenched his fist, while he murmured that you need to be powerful enough to choose your own destiny. Ha! He took a deep breath. He slowly calmed down his mind. Now all of his focus needs to be concentrated on Samue. Although Naito was strong, even against a chunin he can have a great fight, but Uchiha Samue is something else. Naito knew deep down that he's not an ordinary chunin. He already knew that he's very talented, and he may even have already awakened the Sharingan. If he wants to win against him, his current strength is not enough. He must open the second gate of the reversed Hakemon Tonku. Without encountering any obstacles along the way, Naito made it home safely. Then he continued his training. He spent all the night doing push-ups and squats. He was sweating from his exhausted body until he almost passed out, then he went to sleep. When he woke up in the morning, all that he was thinking about is today's training. All of his stakes are already broken and he needs new ones. But even if he bought a new one, it won't take long before it gets destroyed too. Wooden stakes can easily get destroyed. The stone is a good choice, but he will need to find a good one for training in the mountains. This is also troublesome. Naito also thought about how he needed to practice more on the power of the shock. He needs to put a huge amount of shock waves in every punch. If he does that, he will stress his body even more, but that's what he wants, because the more his body suffers, the more he's gonna get stronger. After he went out of his house, he looked at the noisy streets of Konoha, then he looked all the way forward to the Konoha Hokage Rock. Then he remembered that the fight Naruto had with Pain is in a place near those hills. All the way through the hills, in no time, Naito found an excellent training location. On one side there the woods, on the other there's a hilly area full of rocks, and between them, there was a flowing river. Good. This is the place. Without wasting any time, Unacio went to the hilly side and started to stretch his muscles and joints, then he started punching the rock. With a little amount of force, but still, with the power of the shocks, he throws a punch. The air cracked, Naito trampled all the air beside him, the cracks spread out toward the rock. Boom! The shock made an impact on the rock, but because Naito didn't intend to fully destroy it, a slight crack appeared on the rock. Good, let's continue. Seeing this, Naito nodded with satisfaction, and with his left, he threw another punch. And all over again with his right, he continued throwing punches. The sound of the earthquakes was all over the place. Although training with stakes was good, but doing this on a solid object is something else. Having a solid object to practice with, give it a completely different effect. Constantly punching the rock, Naito's body constantly stresses out, the skin, the muscle, even his blood, and bones. He conjured the shocks from his whole body. This is the first time Naito had the opportunity to use this kind of power. When he started to feel the shock from his whole body, he experienced a new feeling. This feeling made him full of admiration. This is the first time he feels this comfortable. I knew from the very beginning that this is the right way to practice. Feeling this kind of comfortable deep down in his heart, Naito changed his sentence and continued to practice more seriously. Punch barrage. The heart starts to beat faster, the blood flowing through the veins like a flowing river. The bones, even the flesh, are conjuring shocks. As if the shocks are refining his flesh and blood. The effect was better than what Naito imagined. In fact, when Naito opened the heart gate, the power of the gate enhanced his chakra and gave him control over it. Then while the blood was flowing, it fed his body and heart. That effect continued every day. Even when he was sleeping, his body and heart continued to enhance each other. And the more he practiced, the more it enhanced him better. In fact, it was only 1 month since he started practicing the power of the shocks. No one can predict the level he will reach after another 2 months. But Naito didn't expect that the 8 gates weren't the only factor for increasing his speed. Even the power of the Gura Gura no Mi itself helped. With those 2 factors, his physical power made a great leap forward. Genuinely, after 2 months, Naito will reach the requirement physique to open the second door. With keeping this in mind, the 2 months left are more than enough. However, Naito also considering the fact that every gate of the reversal Hakimon Tonku opened is permanent, which means every time you open a new one, it takes some time to adapt its power. And every time he opens a new gate, the next one will require more physical power to open it. The more you improve, the more it will be difficult. This is no different than the normal Hakimon Tonku. Ah! He shouted, then threw a big one. The rock finally crumbled into pieces, then he suddenly stopped. At this time he was very exhausted, he felt the fatigue from his whole body. Then suddenly he laid on the ground. His sweaty clothes on the ground become almost dirty. Naito was really exhausted, he couldn't get up, he even felt very comfortable laying on the ground. Using this amount of shock constantly made his body suffer a lot, but that was what he was looking for. This is more effective than the push-ups he was doing before. When he regenerated his power, Naito was almost able to feel the power enhancing in all of his body. This was an incredible thing. He can directly feel the improvement. This just proves how big his improvement was. This should be due to the first time doing such a heavy training, stressing out the body with the power of the shock, made the improvement even bigger. He felt excessive joy, but Naito quickly found the reason behind this. Genuinely, the next time, the improvement won't be the same. However, this is much more effective. The day passed quickly. Naito dragged his tired body back home, and directly fell to sleep. The next day, Naito continued to practice in the mountains, bringing with him more food. Although practicing here is really unsafe because the place is far away from the village, but generally, no one will come here. Moreover, it's the truth that he's away from the village, but it's not that far away. In a blink of an eye, more than a month has passed. Naito gained more muscles. Overall he's still thin but full of strength, which was unbelievable almost for a 9-year-old kid. Naito's physique in the last month has increased fast enough to be appalling. Especially the first week, he made a great leap forward, then that effect has slowly gone down. Boom! The first punch, the sound of buzzing came from the air. Naito was in front of the rock. Then suddenly cracks start to appear, and then abruptly the shock burst out a hole on the rock. Humph humph. Now my punch power should be beyond the C-class ninjutsu power. Even a combination between a C-class wind release and fire release should be destroyed with just one blow. Feeling satisfied with the destruction his punch made, Naito nodded. His eyes were full of hope. This power compared to the Uchiha Samurai B-class ninjutsu should be the same or slightly lesser. However, as long as he can open the second gate, shattering a B-class ninjutsu should be nothing to him. At this point, his duel with Samurai is 1 month far away. During the period he was practicing, the village was so calm and peaceful. Even on his side, nothing happened. Do not know if it was Sarutobi or Danza, but the Uchiha restrained themselves. No one interfered with him, as if they forget all about him. But Naito knew that this wasn't the matter. They were waiting for the timeline of the duel. But this wasn't the only reason. There's a second reason for everyone to ignore Naito for this whole time. It was the Second Ninja War has been declared. Everyone made the war their top priority. Konoha is attacking the surrounding small villages, which led the Land of Fire to constantly expand more and get more resources. Even the other hidden village, like the village hidden by sand and village hidden by clouds, are doing the same. Countless small villages got destroyed. But the small villages and the resources are limited. The 3 major countries will end up in a big collision. Although now it looks like it still needs more time for brewing, all discerning people understand that this war is unavoidable. Compared to Second Shinobi World War, the duel between Naito and Samurai seems a little bit unimportant. Second Shinobi World War Naito took a deep breath, then he continued his training. A few days later, Naito finally felt like he's ready to start trying to open the second gate, the Gate of Wonder. The first gate of the reversal Hakemon Tonku was the final gate, the Gate of Heart. The second gate, of course, will be also reversal, which is the 7th. This gate is extremely important. It's of the same importance as the first gate. Because it's a link. The Gate of Wonder is the link between the heart and the other gates. The next 5 gates are in a straight line. It's a completely direct road. By linking the first and the second gate, all the other gates will be in vertical lines. Connecting the heart and the body, that's what the second gate is all about. His body was all ready for this. He stretched his muscles and joints to start practicing the second gate. The 2 months of practice Naito did was worth more than half a year of normal practice or even more. The power he gained after he opened the first gate was more than he expected. No one can predict the power he will gain after opening the second gate. To open the second gate successfully, he will need to open it from the first shot. As the first gate, he made an impact with his chakra. Then he sends a wave of shock directly to the gate to be the second impact. The shackles of the gate got completely destroyed. With the second door starting to open, Naito felt like invisible flames are passed from his heart, spreading along with the threads reaching the second gate. Then the second gate seemed like it's igniting the flames. What he felt like a flame was actually chakra. At this moment the first gate and the second gate were successfully connected. This was the natural connection of the Hakemon Tonku. The second gate starts to generate chakra. The amount was even more than the amount the first gate was generating. However, by the existence of the threads between the two gates, the unbalance disappeared quickly. In the end, the amount of chakra between the two gates formed a simple balance. At this point, the chakra existed in two cores. Naito's chakra has crossed the level of what the normal Shinobis got. Even compared to some Chunins, it's not much different. This is a big improvement. Moreover, with the new connection between the gates, the chakra formed a loop between the two gates. At first, the chakra only existed in the heart and it enhanced it, but now with having a new core it formed a dynamic link with the heart, and it started to create a mutual transferring. In fact, this transferring is applied to the body too, it feeds the flesh and bones. A virtuous channel has brought an all-around enhancement. This amount of chakra almost seems as much as a Chunin's. It seems like I can learn new ninjutsu. After he felt the chakra in his body, a smile appeared on Naito's face. Despite that he was expecting this prospect, he couldn't hide his joy after experiencing such improvement with his body. Ordinary fire and water release doesn't fit with Naito's style. Indeed, he will need to learn some ninjutsu in the end, but these kinds of ninjutsu don't make any sense to learn for someone who already has an earthquake release and also has the strength and speed like Naito. He will need to have his own kit of ninjutsu which has to be suitable for his style and also can be combined with the earthquake release. My body started to change. In addition to chakra's increased accident, Naito started feeling that his body began to change. Because of the reversal, Hakemon Tonku gives a permanent improvement, so the effect isn't a sudden outbreak like the ordinary one. The effect will appear step by step. However, as long as the opening is successful, this process won't take long. It took few days to adapt to the effect of opening the gate of the heart, so it won't take long to adapt to the effect of this gate too. Sure enough, after only 3 days, Naito fully opened the gate. After this transformation, Naito's speed was almost comparable to a Chunin, but his body strength was at another level. In addition, his shocks got more powerful due to the opening of the second gate. The power is 3 times stronger than before. He completely crossed the gap between the power of a C-class ninjutsu and a B-class ninjutsu. Now with the power of Naito, he can destroy a B-class ninjutsu with one punch. Moreover, as the power of the shocks did a breakthrough, the range of the shocks also improved. The range of Naito's attacks was only 2 meters. And that range belongs to the short-range attacks. Now his range is 5 to 10 meters. Within 5 meters distance, the power of the shock doesn't change. B-class ninjutsu can be completely smashed, and from 5 to 10 meters, he can still crush any C-class ninjutsu. The range attacks have improved from a close range to a near mid-range attack. He completely overcame his weakness of only attacking from a close distance. The C-class ninjutsu is commonly used by the Shinobis. B-class is the common ninjutsu which the superiors use. The A-class ninjutsu belongs to the elites class Shinobis, but generally, a lot of people don't have control over A-class ninjutsu. After all, as long as the user got great control on his chakra, and mastered his ninjutsu, he will be very strong. Most of the time, the nature of the chakra, the control, and the mastering are what makes the ninjutsu more powerful. That's why a lot of shinobi don't learn A-class ninjutsu, because it's hard to control. In other words, anything you will throw at his face, Naito will just smash it. However, there's still one more problem. He didn't forget it, but he was sure that it won't cross his way until now, so he ignored it. In addition to the ninjutsu, there is genjutsu in this world. He calmed himself and spaced out, wondering about this problem. I ignored this fact because I was sure no one will use it against me until now. Learning a genjutsu is a lot difficult than ninjutsu, but against a chunin, this is just a common attack to him. Keeping the genjutsu problem in mind, Naito started to think about a solution. Naito was pretty sure that Samue has already awakened his Sharingan. And even if he didn't, almost every chunin can pull out some genjutsu. This is a very serious issue. Genjutsu is created when a ninja controls the chakra flow of a target's cerebral nervous system, thereby affecting their 5 senses. But Naito already remembered what Jiraiya taught Naruto in the original story: disrupting the chakra flow can counter genjutsu. Basically, there are 361 nodes called tenketsu that control the flow of chakra like circuit breakers. In other words, the nature of genjutsu is chakra itself. But as long as the victim can disrupt his chakra flow, the genjutsu can be countered. In fact, an 8 gates technique user can't get caught in a genjutsu, because the 8 gates control the body function and the chakra flow. When this idea crossed his mind, Naito got surprised. In this case, does it mean that I can't be affected by genjutsu? Then he suddenly thought about Matogai. He couldn't remember a single time when he was caught in a genjutsu, even when he was fighting Madara. Madara wouldn't risk fighting a strong opponent like Guy if he had a weakness against genjutsu. The reason behind that was the strong flowing of chakra. It was almost impossible to get affected. In particular, Guy at that time opened the 8 gate, his body and chakra were in great chaos, the chakra flowing was great. In this state, it's really hard to catch him into a genjutsu. The genjutsu can affect my chakra but not my shock power. Just a simple shock. Naito whispered that while thinking about how he can cancel genjutsu by just hitting his body with a small shock. After all, pain is one of the solutions to counter genjutsu. Unless it's a high-level genjutsu, I think anything he will pull out I can manage it easily. Naito felt calm after he thought about this. It seems he no longer sees the genjutsu as a problem. From the very beginning, he was ready for any ninjutsu, and now he's ready for any genjutsu too. With the earthquake release, you can perfectly and easily cancel any kind of genjutsu, by just simply sending reversed shocks to the body, which can let the body get rid of the enemy's chakra influence. Although he knew all of that, Naito needed to try it off first. But it can't be Dai because he couldn't use genjutsu, and Naito didn't know anyone else. Finally, with the help of Kushina, they found someone who can help. After just 2 simple attempts, the person who helped Naito got surprised. He couldn't believe what he saw. When most people try to counter genjutsu, they at least use hand signs to disrupt their own chakra flow. However, Naito didn't even use any hand signs. It looks as if he's immune to genjutsu. This made the shinobi look at him with an incredible expression. He looked at him as if he was looking at a monster. After a few tries, Naito mastered that technique. He's sure now as long it's not a high-level genjutsu he can counter anything else. With the enhancement of the earthquake release, he can even practice controlling his shocks and chakra to completely cancel any high-level genjutsu too. But cancelling all the normal genjutsu is fine enough, that's why Naito felt very relaxed. When Kushina saw how Naito was immune to genjutsu, she felt very happy. The stronger Naito is, the happier she got. At first, she couldn't even expect that he can fight against Minato and become the top kid in the exam. Even now, some people aren't optimistic about Naito winning against Samue. But Kushina believed in him. After helping him, she left. Kushina didn't want to bother him so he can continue his training. After that, Naito head back to the mountains. While he continued doing his regular exercises, Naito started to develop his own techniques. In the past, he didn't care about learning techniques, because he didn't need it at all. Now with the new enhancement of strength, the earthquake got stronger and stronger, and the power that was extended naturally is differentiated and it can be developed. The only technique Naito used until now is a simple punch that blows out anything ahead of it. It launches a powerful wave of shock in one direction. And simply punching with shocks won't be good enough, he should make it more powerful with some techniques. In this regard, Naito simply developed 3 new taijutsu techniques. In fact, those things he called techniques were simple new moves. Destroy, break, wipe. These are the names of the 3 new moves. Destroy is a severe attack from a high area. Naito uses a great power shock on enemies. This attack encloses the enemies and destroys both enemy and ground. Break is an attack cast by Naito from both sides with his 2 fists. The result is a devastating earthquake that shakes everything around. Wipe, a close-range variant of break but with one hand. Although the 3 moves are simply a change in the direction of the attacks, this simple change will make the enemy extremely uncomfortable with every change of direction. Defending against this kind of change is very troublesome. By simply practicing using these 3 new moves, Naito suddenly discovered that he already surpassed the power of any B-class ninjutsu, also that he could even cause an earthquake. Destroy, break, wipe, all of these 3 attacks can cause an earthquake, but what he really needed to practice and developed is the range. There is a C-class earthquake technique, but Naito's casting is stronger. It doesn't only roll and vibrate the ground, it can actually make a big earthquake break out. While Naito was focusing on mastering those 3 moves, the timeline for the duel between him and Samue has finally come to an end. The duel battleground was at the undergrounds of Konoha. Obviously, such a life and death duel won't be in an open area. Under the guidance of the Anbu, Naito felt a killing instinct all around the place when he entered. This place is not just any place. This place actually is where they torture enemies. On the way, he saw some of the Anbu and the root gathering there. Every day there's specialty shinobi doing this kind of mission, capturing enemies and delivering them over here. Many of these enemy spies and scouts are delivered here to get tortured and secrets out of them. In short, this where's Konoha does all of its dirty work. A weird atmosphere all over the place. The ninjas here are either masked or all having a cold-faced expression. After a short walking, he finally reached his destination. From the very first step in this place, Naito felt very terrified. In the room, there were several people from the Uchiha clan. And in the middle of that crowd, there was Uchiha Samue. Staring at Naito while he's entering the room, his eyes suddenly revealed a killing instinct. He doesn't have any other choice but to kill him to regard his position and retain his dignity and the honor of his clan. Naito stared back and faced Samue. He retrieved his calm at that moment without any slight of fear. At the same time, Naito took a look at the place. There were 3 ninja from the Anbu, 5 from the Uchiha, including other ninjas. There weren't any other people. So the Hokage didn't come. Naito got confused. A duel like this should get the attention of the Hokage. Even if he couldn't come in person, he should have sent more Anbu. There's only 3 Anbu in here and that is less than the Uchiha numbers. Naito felt abandoned. It seems that something has happened. Naito whispered that, but his eyes didn't lose their colors. It seems that today is indeed a bloody battle. The result of this fight will determine his life and death. Finally, the Uchiha backed down to the corners of the room. Uchiha Samue slowly moved forward to the middle, then he stood still. The Anbu looked at each other then did the same thing. The moment didn't require any more words. Because this is not an exam, this is not a game, this is a life and death duel. Naito and Samue didn't need to speak either. In a blink of an eye, the battle broke out. At the same time in the Hokage office, there was a fierce quarrel. Why don't you stop this duel? There's no reason for this to happen. Tsunade's face looked very serious, furiously angry. She almost slammed the table. She's that kind of person when she likes a person. She cannot easily let go of him. Even now when she still didn't meet Naito formally. She still admired him from the first time she saw him. Sarutobi kept silent while he was smoking his pipe. He didn't answer the questions of Tsunade directly. The Uchiha clan sent 13 men to the battleground for the sake of Konoha. And because of this you completely gave up on that child. What a joke. With an unbelievable look, Tsunade replayed. In her opinion this was disgraceful. Sarutobi sighed then he said, I'm not giving up on him. Danza is over there, he will save him the moment he loses. What does this make any difference to that poor kid? Tsunade knew what will happen to him if he got rescued by him. He will make a killing machine out of Naito. Perhaps, Naito will be strong enough to win. Sarutobi said that with comfort. However, he said that only to comfort her. Sarutobi himself didn't believe that. The probability for him to win this duel is almost 0. HolyOniiSama, it's already begun. At this moment, an Anbu appeared next to him. Tsunade suddenly got all angry. What? It's already started. And no one tried to stop it. With a bite, she rushed out of the Hokage office. Since no one gonna stops this, I'll go there and help him out. Sarutobi stood still while she went out of his office, then he smiled. After he smiled, he revealed a strange look. Tsunade is there on behalf of the Senju clan. If Tsunade rescues Naito, then perhaps this matter can still turn out good. Tsunade doesn't fear the Uchiha, even if the two clans have an irresolvable conflict, they don't want to cross swords with each other. No one dared to stop Tsunade while she was rushing out of the Hokage office. She went all the way to the battleground, but when she came close to the place, she was stopped by one person. Step aside. Tsunade stopped, then she looked at the person in front of her. It was Uchiha Kageyama himself, who didn't show any trace of fear. Instead, he looked very calm. Uchiha Kageyama calmly stood there, staring at her with his Sharingan. Don't get so emotional now, will you? Can't you just wait here until it's all over? Then you can go wherever you want. Asshole. Try and stop me. Under the famous temper Tsunade had, she didn't hesitate to attack him immediately. However, Uchiha Kageyama wasn't an ordinary person. He didn't become the head of the clan and the captain of the Konoha military police force for nothing. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't pass through him. After all, she's only a Hokage, she's not strong enough like the original story. Tsunade got more and more anxious. At this rate, Naito may really get killed. At the same time, Tsunade crossed her blade with Uchiha Hokage. The battle between Naito and Samue has already started. As soon as the battle broke out, Naito rushed to him with full speed. With the second gate, the Gate of Wonder already open, how fast can Naito be? Whoosh! In a flash of light, Naito disappeared. His speed was hard to be caught by the naked eye. Samue was already aware of Naito's speed, he didn't get surprised. Sharingan. His Sharingan had only 2 tomo. Although he didn't activate completely, it was already enough to capture Naito's shadow movements. In a blink of an eye, Naito was behind Samue. He didn't hesitate to throw a punch. Samue used his 2 hands and did a hand sign, then turned to a block of wood. Kawarimi no Jutsu. After avoiding Naito's punch with his technique, Samue appeared behind Naito's back. Samue suddenly pulled out a kunai and he swept it toward Naito's neck. In the face of this attack, Naito didn't flicker, and without even looking behind, Naito threw a counter-attack punch. The air cracked like a mirror. The kunai strangely stopped. It was stopped 1 inch from the fist of Naito, it couldn't go any further. But it was all about that 1 inch. Bang! The next moment, with the madness power of the shock, the impact reached Samue, and suddenly he spat blood out of his mouth. However, suddenly Samue's body turned out to a white smoke. Poof! It's a clone. Naito immediately started to look for Samue's real body position. But without noticing him, Samue appeared in front of him with his 2 hands doing hand signs. The tomo in his Sharingan was going all crazy. It's Genjutsu. Naito got caught under Samue's Genjutsu. Naito seemed struggling, and his movement was stopped. It's over. That kid is screwed the moment he got caught by Samue's Genjutsu. Several of the Uchiha members showed a cold expression. On the opposite side, the 3 Anbu, even when their faces were hidden by masks, their eyes exposed their pity. What a pity. Yeah, his bloodline is very good, but there wasn't any chance for him to grow. Under the watchful eye of everyone, Samue looked at Naito proudly, his face showed his contempt. Even if you have a strong bloodline, in front of me you're nothing but a kid. Sorry, but with all respect, the Uchiha has the strongest bloodline. Without any hesitation, Samue drew a kunai, then he threw it toward Naito's chest. It was the end for him. It was the end that everyone in the room has already expected. But no one has expected what happened next. Boom! With a white halo covering his fist, Naito threw a punch. The shock spread out in every direction. The kunai speed decreased, but it didn't stop. It was moving toward him, slowly reaching him inch by inch until it got close to Naito's fist, then it was unable to move any further. The clash between the shock and the kunai did a terrible squeaking sound, then the kunai finally got broken. Impossible. The expression on Samue's face was incredible. Did Naito actually cancel his Sharingan's Genjutsu? How can this be? Samue wasn't the only one who got surprised, even the other Uchihas didn't believe what they saw. On the other side, the 3 Anbu couldn't help but exclaim. Unbelievable, how did he break the Genjutsu? To break a Genjutsu, you need to disrupt the chakra flowing. Did he just disrupt it with his shock? Some of them was discussing the action, and others were still shocked. In this case, wouldn't it mean that Naito is immune to Genjutsu? What a joke. How could there be such a perfect bloodline like this one? In front of the power of shock, Taijutsu can't even contest, Ninjutsu can simply get shattered, and now even Genjutsu can be cancelled. How incredible! I caught him, however. Naito looked at Samue with mocking eyes. In fact, he didn't even break the genjutsu. It simply didn't work. The chakra in his body is composed of two cores. The first in his heart and the second one is in his lower body. It's very different from any ordinary shinobi. And for that reason, it's really difficult to interfere with his chakra flow and catch him inside the genjutsu. So that is in addition to his ability to cancel the genjutsu. Suddenly, Naito moved with a great speed towards Samue. Whoosh! Then he appeared above Samue's head, with an open hands covering with a white halo. He pressed a great power of shocks. Earthquake release, Kuzua. T/N. I changed the 3 new moves Naito learned in Chap 34 to destroy, Kuzua, break, Dan, wipe, Sen. Boom. His palm directly sent a barrage of shocks and it shrouded all the area under him. Bang. Samue stood still, his face exposed that he was still in a shock. He couldn't believe that Naito cancelled his genjutsu. He was in a great shock. This awkward moment caused him to be closed by Naito. The situation turned immediately to a life and death crisis. But he couldn't stay there or he will get destroyed by the great impact of the shocks, so he started to do hand signs. But it was already too late. The shocks were surrounding the entire area. There is no place to hide. Earth release, body replacement technique. Samue couldn't finish his jutsu at the right time. The shock reached all of his body, his bones start to break one by one. Then suddenly his entire body disappeared into the ground. But this action didn't get done perfectly, his blood was on the ground. Catcher. Above Naito, the shocks spread out on the ground in every direction. Bang. In the end, the entire ground got destroyed. He fell back on the ground, looking for Samue. What a clever move to use such a technique. He turned the same ground that was already targeted by my shocks into his escape. In general, most members of the Uchiha clan have an affinity towards the fire nature and may also have another chakra nature from the very start. For example, Uchiha Sasuke has the chakra nature change Duel of Fire and Thunder. In general, you can learn 3 kinds of chakra when you reach the level of a Jonin in order to face any unexpected situation. Uchiha Samue is just a Chunin. It seems that he can only change between earth and fire. It's clever to use the earth release in this situation, but it's useless to stay hiding in the ground. Seeing how Samue didn't appear right away, Naito knew that he suffered an injury due to the last attack. So he decided to attack him from the ground. Naito smirked. He looked at the ground under his feet, then he suddenly clenched his fist and shouted. Earthquake release. The art of moving. Bang. Suddenly Naito sent an enormous shock to the ground. The earth under his feet started to wave. The sound of the ground getting shattered and destroyed was terrible. The ground seemed like it turned to a sea, waving, tumbling from vibration, and it wasn't just in this room, even outside where was Kijiyama and Tsunade were fighting, the two of them sensed it. This vibration, it's an earth release, damn it. Tsunade jumped and swung her fists. She shattered Kijiyama's fireball, then she looked away with anxious eyes. Naito can't use ninjutsu, it has to be Samue's. The jutsu is so strong it may be the final blow. Uchiha Kijiyama took a light glance at the rear. It should be over by now, it took him so long. He even used an earth release. Kijiyama was a little bit unsatisfied. He knew that Samue can use the earth's release too. In his opinion, Samue can easily end this the moment he active his Sharingan. Instead of that he even used an earth release. However, it should be over by now. He shook his head, then he faced Tsunade to continue his mission of stopping her or anyone who wants to interfere. Despite her wrath and anxiousness, Tsunade couldn't overcome him. The life and death duel field. The Uchiha group and the three Anbu were terrified. Naturally, such a technique can't affect them, they can easily control their chakra to stand still. But what really terrified them was the enormous power of Naito, which can turn the ground into a turbulent sea. This move is almost as powerful as a C-class earth release. Due to the madness movements of the ground under Naito's feet, shallow crevasses started to appear, then it spread out in every direction. Samue was under the ground catching his breath, but that didn't work for him. Out of nowhere the rocks and muds which was surrounding him start to shake and tremble. Before he cast this ninjutsu, Samue got injured, but it wasn't that big. But the moment the shock reached him under the ground, he felt like he was going to crash at any moment. Poof! Crack! Crack! His ribs start to break one after another. After struggling so hard, Samue cancelled his plan and returned to the ground, but he was covered in blood. Poof! The moment he returned to the ground, he suddenly vomited blood, he almost fainted out. His eyes exposed his fear, as he seemed incredibly terrified. Hiding in the ground didn't work. And he also can't avoid Naito's shocks. He, unexpectedly, was humiliated to this degree by Naito. Originally he thought it will be a hand-to-hand battle, he didn't expect him to be this good. Now, he's almost at the edge, he's losing this battle. Everyone in the room now, including the Uchiha, has a second thoughts about the result of this battle. There is a chance that Naito can win this battle. How incredible! It's true that Uchiha Samue is just a tune-in, but he sure fought and survived a lot of bloody wars. But in front of Naito, he really got driven into a corner. Damn it! I knew from the very start that I need to go all out, but it's not too late now. He was struggling to even stand still, he was in great pain, but he still can control his chakra. Facing the little devil Naito, Samue gathered his power and nearly printed a hand sign. Earth release. Shadow clone. Bang. The ground trembles, this is the real earth release. The next moment the clone rushed toward Naito, and suddenly it reverted to mud, but it didn't stop and reached Naito's leg and stopped him in his place. This time the ninjutsu was cast perfectly, the mud turned into rocks and it restrained Naito's movements. Samue revealed his killing instinct, his eyes went all crazy, and his hand was printing again. Go to hell, kid. Fire release. Dragon's flame. Boom. A B-class fires ninjutsu, rushing toward Naito, burning everything in the way. Naito, who was trapped to the ground, knew that there's no escape from this enormous fire ninjutsu. After completing this final action, Samue has finally reached his limit, he can no longer stand, he collapsed on the ground, but he kept looking to the field. He wanted to see Naito burn to ashes. On the corner of the Uchiha family, who felt the humiliation from the very beginning of this fight, once again seeing this scene, they felt relieved. Their hearts calmed down. First, he started by banding and halting Naito's movements to make him unable to move, then he followed that by a B-class ninjutsu. The outcome has been determined. On the other side, the three Anbu watching this scene felt a little bit pity. It's a pity. Clearly there's no hope for him to survive this. Sure enough, there's no time for him to break down the earth release, and withdraw from the attack. The three Anbu couldn't help but sigh. But in the next moment, their mouths were wide open. Even the Uchiha couldn't believe what they saw. Even Samue, who was in the field, froze there. Bang! A loud cracking sound merged with the sound of the breaking rocks. The rocks that were banding Naito to the ground exploded under the shocks Naito sent from his body. But the dragon fire was still moving toward Naito. With his whole power, Naito threw a punch at it. The cracks spread away in a wide range. It felt like the air itself was shaken. Under the full force of the shock, the dragon fire destroyed. Under the incredible gaze of everyone, the fire, and the earth releases, all got shattered. This is impossible. Impossible. Samue froze there, with an incredible look on his face. In order to kill Naito, he used a B-class ninjutsu. However, that B-class ninjutsu got shattered by the shock of Naito. This is just incredible. Naito is just this powerful, he can even crush a B-class ninjutsu. Naito approached Samue slowly. Step by step. Samue got afraid, the look on his face was terrified, he wanted to run, but he couldn't even move, his body suffered a lot of injuries. And he already ran out of chakra. This time, the real outcome has been determined. No. Samue felt desperate. He knew Naito will have no mercy on him. This is a life and death duel, and Samue didn't go easy on him too. If Naito didn't open the second gate, that fire release would have turned him into ashes. Naito didn't hesitate. He raised his fist, then he dropped it. Boom! Uchiha Samue died. Before he dies, Samue regretted his actions. In the beginning, he knew he needed to kill Naito before he gets any stronger, but he thought that giving him 3 months won't be any problem. Killing him now or 3 months later won't change the outcome of the fight. But this thought, this choice, killed him. On the corner of this room, some of the Uchiha members clenched their fists while watching this scene. Some of them wanted to rush to the scene, but they needed to resist this feeling. It was clear, the shock in their eyes. Naito actually won. Just a few months earlier, Naito was just an ordinary kid. This talent, this growth, is too scary. Even the 3 Anbu didn't believe it. Naito really won. The only reason they stood still in their places and didn't rush to protect him, was because they were still shocked. They came to these places knowing that this kid got abandoned by everyone. The Uchiha controlled the situation, the Hokage couldn't do anything to change that. However, this abandoned kid, alone, reversed the situation. How incredible! Not so far from here. Uchiha Kageyama and Tsunade were still fighting fiercely. Tsunade didn't want to fight with him, there wasn't any reason for this bloody battle, she just wanted to rescue Naito. However, Uchiha Kageyama stopped her. You continue to stand there, I'm not finished with you yet, Kageyama. While this fight continued, Tsunade couldn't control her anger anymore. Uchiha Kageyama stared at her with a cold face, listening to Tsunade's words. He didn't retreat, but he also got angry. Who do you think you are? It's true she's the princess of Konoha, but she's also Sarutabi's disciple. But he's also the head clan of the Uchiha. However, thinking about the main reason for this, he knew it's almost the end. Kageyama calmed himself. It's calm down there. It should be over. Kageyama stepped aside. Well, if you want to enter this badly, then we will go together. He let the road open for her, then he smirked. Tsunade didn't listen to a word he said. The moment he let her pass, she just rushed past through him. Damn you! If Naito boy died, I will make you suffer, you fucking Uchiha. My disciple, you will pay for this. Tsunade's heart is so furious. But she hid her feelings. Uchiha Kageyama blocked her for a long time, the battle is definitely over. She's so late. She already was expecting the worst. She rushed at full speed while biting her lips, then entered the room of the battle. Stop this fight. Tsuna didn't notice the situation. But the moment she took a glance at the battlefield, she got surprised. What's happening here? Tsuna froze there. She was looking at the ground and how it was destroyed. It was clearly a fierce battle. A corpse was lying there, but she couldn't recognize for whom this was due to her shock, but the clothes were for one of the Uchiha's members. Naito was standing there. At this time everything was clear to her. They looked at each other. How could she be here? The look on Naito's face was incredible. He was very surprised. It seems Tsunade came here to stop the battle. And compared to the surprising moment Naito had, Tsunade was still shocked. She had the same incredible look. Naito's still alive. She slowly looked at the Uchiha and the Anbu folks. She finally realized that this is really the room of the battleground, and the little boy standing there was really Naito. But that just made her more and more shocked. Tsunade felt like she wanted to scream, "This is unbelievable." In other words, Naito won. How did he win against Samue? Although Tsunade didn't know how much Samue is strong, also she could guess based on his rank. But he actually lost against Naito. What shocked her more was how unharmed Naito was. No blood, not even a single scar was on him. It's just sketchy. He's a Chunin, how can he get out of this fight without even being touched? This is incredible. While Tsunade was still in shock, Kijiyama walked in slowly. It's over. Finally. Hey, Samue, it took you so long, you're, ha. Uchiha Kijiyama's expression suddenly changed. This is incredible. This is impossible. What happened? Uchiha Kijiyama turned to the Uchiha members immediately. He couldn't help but ask loudly. On the opposite side, the Uchiha members couldn't hide their shock. Kijiyama-sama. Uchiha Samue is dead, he lost. In the face of the Uchiha Kijiyama angry question, one of them responded fearfully. Kijiyama couldn't believe it. He suddenly turned around, then looked at the unharmed Naito at the field, and revealed killing instinct from his eyes. This damn little devil, even in this case, managed to reverse the situation. Naito saw Kijiyama. He instantly guessed the identity of Uchiha Kijiyama. There's no doubt, this guy should be the head clan of the Uchiha. Fugaku Uchiha's father, and the grandfather of Uchiha Itachi and Sasuke. Uchiha Kijiyama stared at Naito with his Sharingan that had 3 Tomo and suddenly released a murderous intent and cast a genjutsu on him. This murderous intent caught Naito off his guard. He almost got affected. Very strong. Kijiyama, this guy's strength is almost as strong as a Sannin. Uchiha Kijiyama. What do you think you're doing? At this time, the only person who reacted was Tsunade. His face suddenly changed the moment she shouted at him. The moment he stopped, she calmed herself down. Naito managed to reverse the situation and cancelled the genjutsu. That made her admire Naito more and more, but she stopped there. She didn't want to make the situation even worse. Kijiyama got angrier and angrier. His face was as ugly as an ogre. The more he looked at Naito, the more he wanted to kill him. He wanted to wipe him out immediately. Naito's talent is even bigger than what he imagined. However, Tsunade is here. Actually, one of the Senju is here. If he made any wrong move, everything will turn into hell, and Tsunade will definitely stop him. It's like he's in the hands of Tsunade. He got so depressed. In the end, Uchiha Kijiyama took a deep breath, then calmed down. but what he was feeling deep inside was nothing but anger. Let's go. As soon as he calmed down, Kageyama turned and left. The Uchiha members looked at each other, took a deep breath, then they followed Kageyama leaving the place. The Anbu didn't have anything else to do here, so they left too. The only people who were left in the room were Tsunade and Naito. The atmosphere in the place becomes slightly odd. Naito kept looking at Tsunade's eyes, then he took a glance at her chest. Cough. Shit, these are really eye-catching. However, he closed his eyes immediately. Naito was really grateful to her because she came over here to rescue him. If she wasn't here, Uchiha Kageyama would have killed him immediately. Tsunade-sama, thank you. Yeah. At first, Tsunade nodded normally, then she snorted and said, I'm not that old to call me Sama. Then how do I call you? Naito looked at Tsunade with a childish look. Naito knew it was strange. It looked like Tsunade was interested in him. She even stood against the Uchiha head clan just from him. She does care about him, doesn't she? This idea is somewhat strange. Naito couldn't help but be very grateful and happy. To make it short, she may be interested in his talent and she wants him to be her disciple. Eliminating this possibility, there are no other reasons for her help. Can I call you? Naito guessed her intention, but he didn't want to force the idea. Naito is still a student who didn't graduate from the ninja school to become a genin. Even if he's strong enough to be one, he will still need to graduate first and be picked. So it's not appropriate to be her disciple. Moreover, he's not certain about her true intentions. Can I call you Oni-san? Tsunade felt weaker and weaker toward him. She was already bigger than him, so that wouldn't be a problem. Ha! You little cute devil. Tsunade fell for him even more, but she didn't mind that. She really liked him. She smiled at him, then she said, this is the first time we meet each other, but you still want to make our relationship this close. Because you're so beautiful, Oni-san. This time the best choice he had is to play it stupid in front of her. Ow. Tsunade laughed the moment she heard that. If she knew that his wisdom was far beyond his age, she wouldn't treat him the same way she does. You're not only cute and handsome, but you're also a sweet talker. She looked at Naito with a smile. This kid really make her fell for him. For the first time Naito managed to make someone appreciate him, and it wasn't anyone, it was Senju Tsunade. Therefore, she didn't mind his sweet talk because she felt he was kinda cute. He. Naito scratched his hair. It seems Tsunade really likes him. Who said that he could make Tsunade fall for him with only a few words? For the first time, someone stood up for him and rescued his life. Well, you can call me Oni-san only until this year's graduation. Tsunade with a smiling face said such a sentence and made Naito space out for a moment. Naito got all confused at first. He felt like fate is smiling again at him. This it? Tsunade was really thinking the same way as him. This is really it, huh? Looking at the dazed Naito, Tsunade walked toward him, then she extended her hand, flicking her finger. Bang! The next moment, she hit Naito's forehead with her finger. Ouch! Even if Naito had already opened the second door of the reverse Hakemon Tonku against the brutal force of Tsunade, he got pushed several steps back. He looked at Tsunade with tears in his eyes. It was a pretty good hit, but he calmed himself and decided to continue playing stupid. Tsunade snappily glared at him, then said, "Hey! Continue on playing dumb and I'm gonna hit you again, stupid." Oni-san. Okay, you don't need to do this again. Naito felt embarrassed while scratching his forehead. Even Nawaki Tsunade's brother told her about Naito and how he was called the genius of Konoha. Of course, he was younger than Naito, who was already going to graduate from school. After today's incident, even the word genius wouldn't be enough to describe the talent of Naito. To be able to defeat a Chunin at this age, only makes you a monster. To make it short, I don't need to say more, you should be able to understand my intentions, right? Tsunade sounded like she was threatening him, but also she kept a smiling face. Naito looked at her then said, "Of course, it's clear, the moment I graduate I will be assigned to your team and become your disciple Oni-san." "Correct." With appreciation, Tsunade extended her hand and patted Naito's shoulder with force. "And that was really painful. Is this what they call crying without tears? Why are you being so harsh on me, Oni-san? I just want to confirm, how much is your physical power?" Tsunade said that casually, but she was really amazed by his body. "Naito boy, your body is really strangely strong." Tsunade used a lot of power in that spike, but Naito stood still without even slightly shaken. His physical power really amazed her. The body power and the ninjutsu techniques are very different. If you want to have a strong body, you will need to go through all kinds of hard training. Taijutsu is really hard to learn. Naito achieved such a level at a very young age. Thinking about the level he reached, he certainly had to do a great effort to get here. She couldn't help but admire him even more. At this time, with a weak look on his face, Naito suddenly broke the atmosphere with his words. "Oni-san, are you gonna study my body?" "Oh." His words seemed very strange to Tsunade. What is he talking about? He looked like he's trying to hide something. "Be honest with me and speak out loud and clear." Tsunade pretended to be angry at Naito. Naito stood up immediately. "Well, yes, she certainly needed to study this body. Anyway, he's really willing to let her study him, as long as it's not forbidden research like the one Orochimaru's doing." Tsunade was indeed a little bit curious about Naito's body. At the end she couldn't endure that feeling. With her hand still on Naito's shoulder, she injected some of her chakra into his body. She's a medical nin after all, and it's only natural to do this kind of thing. With this method, she can easily find anything about his body. But that only made her get surprised. This is. Sensing his body and his chakra flow shocked Tsunade. She already knew how the Hakemon Tonku was a forbidden technique. In fact, a lot of shinobis have practiced this technique throughout history. Even Hatake Kakashi practiced this technique in the future. In fact, activating this technique at the first two gates isn't that hard. The true meaning of using this technique is only after opening the third gate. After injecting her chakra into Naito's body, she felt the 8 main nodes that control the chakra flow in his body. It's true, this is the effect of practicing the 8 gates. And it seems like it's a permanent activation. And what made this even incredible is that he managed to open the 8th and the 7th gate. She was able to sense that the front 6 gates are all closed. You're using the 8 gates technique." Tsunade kept quiet for a long time, then she asked that with an unbelievable look. Naito nodded first, then he shook his head again. "It's true that I'm using the Hakemon Tonku technique, but it's a little bit different than the normal technique because I matched it with my bloodline limit. I call it the reverse Hakemon Tonku." Naito explained the principles of the reverse Hakemon Tonku to Tsunade. This technique can't be activated only if the user has the same bloodline as Naito. Even for a Senju it's nearly impossible to succeed. Moreover, Naito didn't mind telling Tsunade everything about this technique if she was willing to try it. After all, the only person who helped him today was Tsunade. For those who were good to him, Naito will never forget about them. People who respected him, Naito will always respect them too. This is the principle of Naishios. Without mentioning that Tsunade is basically his sister now. Whether it's a joke or not, Naito will always respect and be grateful to her. Listening to Naito's explanation shocked her. It took Tsunade more than a half day to recover. She looked very beautiful listening carefully to everything he said. She kept quiet for some time, then she took a deep breath and smiled. Naito boy, you are really something. That's because I am your little brother. Naito smiled back at her. Tsunade snorted, then said, you thought you can really become my little beloved brother this easily, huh? But you promised. Naito looked at her helplessly. She smiled with a hint of playfulness, then said, yes, that's true, but you need to prove yourself first. How can I do that? That's up to you. Tsunade responded seriously. Oh. Naito, of course, knew that she was only trying to tease him. Got it. In fact, she is the woman who will become a Hokage in the future. She's not only strong but also wise. In a matter of fact, the only words that can describe her is absolute and wisdom. To make it short, you will need to continue on working hard to prove yourself to me. Tsunade slightly raised her head, then she turned to leave. You're a little bit arrogant, aren't you? Naito's mouth twitched. And at this moment, Tsunade turned back to Naito and grabbed his hand gently. Oh. Then she gently put a scroll in his hand. This is. Looking at the scroll in his hand, Naito got stunned for a moment. He kept looking at it while Tsunade disappeared into the darkness. He couldn't catch up to her, so he opened the scroll to take a glance at it. Really? Reading the content of the scroll, a pleasant surprise appeared on Naito's face. It's the way to control chakra to deal more damage, it's the way to practice brutal force, it's the way to have a superhuman power. It was this simple. Tsunade just gave it to him. He clenched the scroll in his hand, then he stood up and looked to where Tsunade disappeared into the darkness. He had an inexplicable smile on his face. Konoha, dark deep in the ground. A masked ninja suddenly appeared in a dark room. The symbols he had in his mask were more complicated than the normal masks. He's a ninja from the root. Danza-sama, the mission has failed. Ha! Danza opened his eye slightly. So the Uchiha prevented you from rescuing Naito. How pathetic, don't say anymore, this time the Uchiha will really pay the price. What a pity Naito really died. It's really a pity that a perfect tool like him got destroyed. Danza really felt pity that he lost such a great tool. The ninja suddenly shook his head. Danza-sama, the situation didn't go the same way as we expected. Naito's strength was beyond all imagination. It wasn't only how he was immune to the genjutsu, but also the earthquake release was so strong. He killed the Uchiha. The ninjas from the root group are all cold-blooded killers who are trained under the hand of Danza himself. They do not have any feelings or emotions. Even while saying such shocking words, he was still calm. However, Danza wasn't as calm as the masked ninja. What did you say? His eyes widened for a moment. Even if it was based on a piece of certain information, he couldn't believe it. What a joke. The outcome is really unexpectedly surprising. That's it for this video, guy. Hope you like the video. Like, share and subscribe the channel. Also tell me your recommendations in the comment section down below. Thanks for watching.